The Finance Committee meeting for January 14, 2020 for the Gary Common Council is now called to order. There is one item on the agenda this evening, which is CPR 2019-09, which is a resolution by the Gary Common Council in regard to the Gary Community School Corporation, sponsored by Levita Sparks Wade, Gary Common Council. Present this evening, Councilman Ron Brewer, Councilman, oh, I'm sorry.
Keep going, man.
Okay, Councilman William Godwin, Councilwoman Linda Barnes Caldwell, Councilman Dwight, I'm sorry, I'm calling you brother, Dwight Williams, and our Council President, Mr. Mike Brown. Okay, and I'm Mary Brown, Chairperson of the Finance Committee. So I don't know who is going to do the overview for this, and our legal advisor, Attorney Renzo Williams, is present, and Levita Sparks Wade is present. So you want to come up? Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and to the council. We, at the end of last year, passed this particular resolution, and it appeared that there were some discrepancies in the amendments upon needing the signature from our former past president. And so we wanted to clear up everything so that this, which is just a start to making some changes in regards to the Gary Community School Corporation and acknowledging our support of returning the school system back into the hands of local leadership. And one of the amendments, as a matter of fact, was to make the repairs throughout the Gary Community School Corporation. And that was included in D. And it doesn't look like this is the actual resolution that was amended. So it looks like the same resolution.
We did say $25 million,
We did
right?
say
I remember that
$25
much.
million. Yes, ma'am. We did say whereas the Gary Community School Corporation debt needs to be forgiven, that control of the Gary Community School Corporation needs to be restored to local control, whereas $25 million or another number as determined appropriate and necessary is needed too. And the list of those things that were being requested was repairs at West Side, perform other needed maintenance and repairs at existing schools, and a commission a study on building a new school in Gary and demolishing the vacant schools. We also talked about using the assessment that the Gary Community School Corporation has conducted in order to make the determination as far as the repairs are concerned and in what order they should be done.
Okay. All right, any questions, comments?
Couple. Number one, and this is maybe for the attorney, what happens to these resolutions once they go to Indianapolis? Are they read on the House or Senate floor? Are they given to whom? What happens to them once we approve them here? I'm just curious.
I would say it depends on the spirit of the resolution, whether it's supportive of the majority. If it's not, I'm sure it's trashed. If you're there for a hearing and you're able to speak at the hearing, you're able to read it into the record.
Okay.
So it depends on the witnesses and things of that nature. But of course, you know, it has no legal effect.
Right.
It just shows your support. In this case, anyone who came to testify would have the opportunity to read it into the record.
Makes sense.
And Councilman, may I add that our Tracy Coleman, Attorney Tracy Coleman, is a leader in the statewide PTA, and she is carrying this down to submit to our local state representatives and our senators, and they have pledged that they would send this down to, or read this before their bodies, their respective bodies.
Excellent. I also know that Mayor Prince recently announced, maybe a second day, that they were going to be citing, I guess, Garrett Community School Corporation under the unsafe building law toward making the owners of the property, which I guess is loosely the state, because technically Garrett Community School Corporation
Right.
still owns the properties, right? And so it seems to be that the theory that they're going with, which is my interpretation of it, is that because it's currently controlled by the state, that the state would be on the hook should the state be sued under the unsafe building law. If in fact this resolution is deemed credible and meritorious, and the state says, yeah, let's do it, let's turn it back over tomorrow, and do all the various statutory changes they would have to do to reestablish the school board here and so forth, how would that affect Mayor Prince's unsafe building law campaign?
This is the first that I've heard of his unsafe building campaign. But I would, and I really can't even comment as to how it would affect it. My hope is that in forgiving the debt, that the state of Indiana would assume any of those finances that's needed to then, satisfy anything that comes of that particular lawsuit.
That's good.
I have a question. This resolution, are we saying that this resolution would be perhaps a part of whatever Mayor Prince is doing in terms of his suit or not, or you
No,
can't
ma'am.
know at this point?
We can't know
Can't
at this
really
time,
know.
but I wouldn't say, we had already passed this
Uh-huh.
prior to
Yep.
any
Okay.
plans that
Yeah.
we had.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely, and again, this is not meant to be in any way a comprehensive plan as how to handle the debacle of what has occurred with our schools. This is meant to make a statement that the city of Gary is prepared to stand behind our local leadership in returning the ownership back to our local leaders, and that we are capable of leading. Financially, that is the state's responsibility, and we have not, when they went ahead with the constitutional changes in our taxes locally, who thought that our children would be affected, so adversely? Because of, you can't finance the schools the way you used to. And all of us were products of, except for, okay, we don't hold that against you.
Reaping benefits now.
Okay, absolutely. But we know what the Gary Community School Corporation was, and we know that what it can be. And we're putting our trust in this leadership that we have now. We have a new mayor, we have new, half of the council is new. We believe in Gary, and we believe in our leadership, and we just want to see things return to local leadership.
When we ask for local control, I do have some issue with local control because we haven't done what we need to do as a community. We put a referendum out, and which referendum got voted down, and half the school board members that was on there at the time was pushing for the referendum not to go
fail,
forward.
yes.
So I'm a little concerned when we say local control. When we say local control, what does that really look like? Because I know the condition we got in and we're in right now, it was through local control. I think there's a lot of moving pieces that's going on now. You got Mayor Prince doing his thing, Dr. Marikis doing his thing, now the council doing their thing. I think there needs to be a come together moment here where we see exactly what the plan is. There's a meeting going on tonight talking about what their plans is to do with a lot of the abandoned schools tonight. How are they going to sell the school? What the process is going to be? I think everyone is doing their own little thing in their own little backyard, and no one's coming together. And I think we need to have a sit-down moment. All parties need to sit down and discuss what's the plan going forward. But the community has not really been engaged in seeing exactly what the local control will look like if we assume all these properties back. How are we going to handle the situation that still exists? Because nothing has changed. So if they, like Councilman Godwin said, if they give us back local control, we still got a problem. And if the community is not ready to finance that problem, to deal with that problem, what do we do after that? So that's my concern.
And I'm sorry.
No, you good.
I got to get used to this new role that I have.
You wear it well.
But it's quite all right. It's all right.
Okay, talk over 3 minutes.
I'm gonna be the
No,
new
you
no
good.
wet.
Don't do that. You good.
No, and again, I would just say that I'm going to push the envelope a little bit here. We did favorably vote on this resolution,
We did.
okay? And I believe that the spirit of the resolution is in that, again, it's not a comprehensive plan. This is a public statement of our support for local control to be given back. And if the state of Indiana forgives the debt of the Gary Community School Corporation, all of our troubles financially would be over. And at what point do we say we don't want our vote to count? And that's what our local school board, we don't have an appointed school board.
Right.
We have
Right.
local voting elections, and this is the only school corporation. Is not Muncie getting out of their agreement, if I'm not mistaken?
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Okay, I think they're close to getting out of theirs. In any event, I think we should be leaders in this regard. They forgave the debt of the charter schools. They're putting up nice new buildings all over the place. And our public school system, are we saying that we no longer want a public school corporation? Okay, so, and again, humbly, I ask that we make the amendments that we voted on this resolution. And if they give us local control back, I'm sure it won't be an immediate thing.
I can't.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say to Ms. Sparks' Wade's point, I think it's proper to respect the fact that it did pass favorably, and that amendments were. I was present. I wasn't a member of the council, but amendments were offered on the floor, and it's not the people who voted for its fault, or the people who person who sponsored its fault, that the amendment was not properly written into it. And so I don't think that a typographical or omission error should mean that something that was legitimately passed by the body, duly elected, should be ignored now that we have new members. And certainly it would come before the council on third reading, I believe.
No, I'm gonna address that.
Okay, and council members will have the right to vote for or against it. Really, I don't even know if that's the case. We've already passed it.
Yo, that's my point.
So in this one, we're really just fixing it.
It's my legal opinion that it does not have to come back before the council. The
Yeah.
question was, and the president at the time, of course, President Brewer, had every right to make sure he was signing what was passed. I simply think once the document articulates properly the amendments, then it would simply require former President Brewer's signature, because he was the president at the time in which it was passed. And that's it. It does not require any more action of the council. But it would have to meet the satisfaction that, of the president, or then it would have to be a motion put on the floor to challenge the ruling of the then president, which I'm sure won't come to that. So as long as the amendments are articulated as Councilman Brewer and I went over, they did not articulate some of the amendments that were made on the floor. As long as that document now has that, I would recommend that the former president sign it.
Well, it's not just a matter of me signing, you have to also have the mayor, and you would need the president mayor to sign it.
The president would have to sign it, yes.
Yes.
But I'm talking about to move it from us.
Yes.
It can't get down to the mayor to you sign it, actually.
And if for some reason the mayor sat on it, is it a 10-day period?
It's a pocket
Yeah.
veto.
Pocket
and then
veto,
you could-
right.
yes, and you could override the veto.
6 votes.
6 votes, yeah.
You didn't vote for it anyway,
Right.
did you? Right. Thought I recalled that.
Yes. I was only vote. against
So,
it.
Right.
again, it's just making sure the document accurately articulates the amendments. And that was unusual because we had several amendments
Right.
that came from the floor, and that's just.
Who's doing
that's
the,
not
new amendments to this as we speak now?
I think Attorney Coleman had sent the draft over to me. I just want Attorney Coleman or whoever to send it back to me in the proper form. I'll format it. I just need the amendments to be put in. I'll format it and I'll get it back to you.
Okay, so I'll have her
Just email me.
okay, I will do that. Alrighty. Thank you very much.
Then we need to take this off the,
Yeah, it
Madam
doesn't
Chair.
need to be an action item.
Pardon?
It does not need to be an action item
It does not.
at the meeting. We simply brought it back to committee to vet out the amendments.
Okay,
And I think that was wise to do that publicly. But
okay.
it does not require a vote. It's already passed. It just has to
Okay.
articulate the adequate amendment.
Okay, well, then my question is, it went down to the mayor's office, right?
No.
No,
It
It
never
never-
went
never
there
went
to the
because
mayor's
you
office.
didn't sign it?
Correct, so it
Okay.
never went to the mayor's office.
Okay.
Now, that again poses another issue.
Yeah.
We'll cross that when we get to it.
That was my question there.
Right.
Yeah, I think you have, is it 7 days? There's a time period in which you have to get it to the mayor.
Right.
If it does not get to the mayor, I'm not sure of the ramifications for not getting there. I think in this case, we clearly have an adequate reason. It's not that it wasn't passed, it was just the document wasn't proper. There were maybe scribbler errors, and some of them were substantive issues. I'll have an answer before the next meeting on that. I have to look that up. I've never experienced that. Whether council held, it's almost like the impeachment or whatever.
Yeah, right.
I've never seen where the council held the document. I've seen where the mayor refused to sign it. So we'll make sure we're on solid legal ground, and I'll be able to advise at the council meeting.
Okay.
Because at some point the session's going to end. It's a short year for Indianapolis. So
Right,
ideally,
yeah,
this
is a
it
short
would be done
session.
before the end of
Exactly.
February.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So we meet
short
on the
session.
28th, so, yeah.
Yeah, we'll know before the 28th. I'll get an answer.
Okay, anybody else have any more questions or comments? Okay, now, meeting's adjourned, thank you.
Thank you.